You're muted. Can you unmute and start the recording?
Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Maitreya Uvacha Evam Aviskrita Shesha Guna Karmodayo Munim Savrita Evatam Samrat Uparatam Uvacha.
Hare Krishna. Sri Maitreya said, after describing the greatness of the emperor's manifold qualities and activities, the sage became silent, and the emperor, feeling modesty, addressed him as follows.
Manuruvacha Brahma Srijat Swamukhato Yushmanatma Paripshaya Chandumayastapavidya Yoga Yuktan Alampatam.
Manu replied, to expand himself in Vedic knowledge, Lord Brahma, the personified Veda, from his face created you, the Brahmanas, who are full of austerity in knowledge and mystic power and are averse to sense gratification.
Tatranaya Srijak Chashman Dosahasrat Sahasrapat Hridayam Tasya Hi Brahma Shatram Anyam Pratyachate.
For the protection of the Brahmanas, the thousand-legged supreme being created us, the Kshatriyas, from his 1,000 arms. Hence, the Brahmanas are said to be his heart and the Kshatriyas his arms.
Ato Hyanyoyam Atmanam Brahma Kshatram Cha Rakshata Rakshati Sma Vyayo Deva Sahya Sadatmaka.
That is why the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas protect each other as well as themselves. And the Lord himself, who is both the cause and effect, and is yet immutable, protects them through each other.
Tava Sandarsanadeva Shina Me Sarva Samsaya Yat Swayam Bhagavan Pritya Dharma Maha Viraksiso.
Now I've resolved all my doubts simply by meeting you, for your lordship has very kindly and clearly explained the duty of a king who desires to protect his subjects.
Distya Me Bhagavan Drishto Durdarsusho Yo Kritatmanam Distya Pada Rajas Pristam Shirsna Me Bhavata Shivam.
It is my good fortune that I've been able to see you, for you cannot easily be seen by persons who have not subdued the mind or controlled the senses. I'm all the more fortunate to have touched with my head the blessed dust of your feet.
Nistya Dvayanusistoham Kritasjanugraho Mahan Aparate Karnaranthre Chista Distyosatirgira.
I have fortunately been instructed by you, and thus great favor has been bestowed upon me. I thank God that I've listened with open ears to your pure words.
Sabhavantu Duhitir Sneha Pariklistatmano Mama Shrotamarhasi Dinasya Shravitam Kripaya Mune.
O great sage, graciously be pleased to listen to the prayer of my humble self, for my mind is troubled by affection for my daughter.
Priya Vratto Tanapadu Svasyam Duhita Mama Anvichati Patim Yuktam Vayaha Sila Gunadibhihi.
My daughter is the sister of Priyavrata and Uttanapada. She is seeking a suitable husband in terms of age, character, and good qualities.
Yada tu bhavata sila shrutarupa gunan asrununnaradadesa esha tvaya krita nishchaya.
The moment she heard from the sage Narada of your noble character, learning, beautiful appearance, youth, and other virtues, she fixed her mind upon you.
Tat praticha dvija kremam shraddhayopahrita sarvatmanarupam te graham medhishu karmasu.
Therefore, please accept her, O chief of the Brahmanas, for I offer her with faith, and she is in every respect fit to be your wife and take charge of your household duties.
Udyatasya hi kamasya prativado na shasyate api nirmukta sanyasya kamaraktasya kim punaha.
To deny an offering that has come of itself is not commendable, even for one absolutely free from all attachment, much less one addicted to sensual pleasure.
Yaudyatam anadritya yinasham abhiyachate kshiyate tadyasahasvitam manaschavajnaya yahataha.
One who rejects an offering that comes of his own accord, but later begs a boon from a miser, thus loses his widespread reputation, and his pride is humbled by the neglectful behavior of others.
Aham tvasrinavam vidvan vivahartam samudyatam atastvam upakurvanaha pratam pratigrahaname.
Swayambhava Manu continued, O wise man, I heard that you were prepared to marry. Please accept a hand which is being offered to you by me, since you have not taken a vow of perpetual celibacy.
Rishiruvacha badham udvodukamoham apratacha tavatmaja avayor anurupo sa atyo vaivahiko vidhi.
The great sage replied, Certainly, I have desired to marry, and your daughter is not yet married or given her word to anyone. Therefore, our marriage according to the Vedic system can take place.
Kamaha sabhuyan naradevatesyaha putrayaha samamnaya vidu pratita kaivatanayam danayam nadriyeta svayeva kantya kshapatim eva shriyam.
Let your daughter's desire for marriage, which is recognized in the Vedic scriptures, be fulfilled. Who would not accept her hand? She is so beautiful that by her bodily lustre alone she excels the beauty of her ornaments. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much, dear devotees. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Right.
Prabhuji.
Please, let's humble obeisances of Lord Shri Prabhupada. I believe Anya was reciting either the Sanskrit or English. Sorry, I just joined in. And if somebody could just mention the name of the devotee who is also reciting the English and the Sanskrit.
It's dear Ananya and Deepak Prabhu.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you very much. And welcome to today's chat class, 16th of November, 2025. My name is Krishna Govind Dasa. The verses that we're reading from today are from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 22, which is the marriage of Kadama Muni and Devahuti. The verses we're going to be reading is 6, 7, and 8. So I'll start the intro prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottanam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Dastashu Bhadrashu Nitya Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavata Matam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. So I just want to check you can see this page okay?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you. So Canto 3, Chapter 22, verse 6. Dishya me Bhagavan Drishto Durdasho Yogadatmanam Dishya Pada Raja Sprishtam Shrishnan me Bhavata Shivam. Translation. It is my good fortune that I've been able to see you, for you cannot easily be seen by persons who have not subdued the mind or controlled the senses. I am all the more fortunate to have touched with my head the blessed dust of your feet. So just to give you a little reflection on the story itself, it's actually a discourse between Swambhuva Manu, who's the first progenitor, is the son of Lord Brahma, and to Kadama Muni. Kadama Muni is a great sage and is also the father of Kapila Dev, who is a partial expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who gives instructions to his mother, Devahuti. So at the moment when Swambhuva Manu had actually come to see Kadama Muni, he was actually performing some spiritual activities. So when he had finished, he recognized the king, and out of a duty of a Brahmana to acknowledge the king and see that the king was not an ordinary person. He was, of course, the father of mankind. He, from the Manu Samhita, he gives all the instructions for all of mankind for them to follow in terms of like spiritual dharma. And Kadama Muni is actually glorifying the king because he is a pious person, and he actually acknowledges that he is actually ruling the kingdom through the wisdoms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, in the form of Sanatana. And in turn, Kadama Swambhuva Manu, he's also given some blessings to Kadama Muni, and this is the dialogue between the two great personalities. Now, the purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The perfection of transcendental life can be achieved simply by touching the holy dust of the lotus feet of a holy man. In the Bhagavatam it is said, Mahat Pada Rajo Bhishekam, which means to be blessed by the holy dust of the lotus feet of the Mahat, a great devotee. As stated in the Gita, Mahatmanas too, those who are great souls are under the spell of spiritual energy, and the symptom is that they fully engage in Krishna consciousness for the service of the Lord. Therefore, they are called Mahat. Unless one is fortunate enough to have the dust of the lotus feet of a Mahatma on one's head, there is no possibility of perfection in spiritual life. The Parapara system of disciplined succession is very important as the means of spiritual success. One becomes a Mahat by the grace of his Mahat spiritual master. If one takes shelter of the lotus feet of a great soul, there is every possibility of one's also becoming a great soul. When Maharaj Rahugana asked Jad Bharat about this wonderful achievement of spiritual success, he replied to the king that spiritual success is not possible simply by following the rituals of religion, simply by converting oneself to a sannyasi, or offering sacrifices as recommended in the scriptures. These methods are undoubtedly helpful for spiritual realization, but the real effect is brought about by the grace of a Mahatma. In Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's 8 stanzas of a prayer to the spiritual master, it is clearly stated that simply by satisfying the spiritual master, one can achieve the supreme success in life. And in spite of executing all ritualistic performances, if one cannot satisfy the spiritual master, one has no access to spiritual perfection. Here the word Akrit Atmanam is very significant. Atma means body, soul, or mind, and Akrit Atma means the common man who cannot control the senses or the mind. Because the common man is unable to control the senses and the mind, it is his duty to seek the shelter of a great soul or a great devotee of the Lord, just try to please him. That will make his life perfect. Common man cannot rise to the topmost stage of a spiritual perfection simply by following the rituals and religious principles. He has to take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, work under his direction faithfully and sincerely, then he becomes perfect without a doubt. So once again, it's a beautiful verse and a beautiful purport beautifully explained by Srila Prabhupada. Now I'll recite the Mangalacharan prayers. Please join in. Amagyana Timarandasya Gyana Anjana Shalakaya Kakshirmalita Mena Tasme Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Savitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakamatam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namustate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangye Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So once again, I'd like to offer my respectful obeisances to my Spiritual Master, His Holiness Bhakti Swami, Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Charu Swami Tinamane. Kindly also seek the blessings of ISKCON Founder Church and Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pachayane. Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pasyacha Desatarana. I also kindly seek the blessings of all the devotees listening, so that I may be able to speak on the wonderful glories from the Srimad Bhagavatam, may be pleasing, truthful, and beneficial to the listeners and also to myself. So translation to this particular verse, Canto 3, Chapter 22, verse 6. It is my good fortune that I've been able to see you, for you cannot easily be seen by persons who have not subdued the mind, controlled the senses. I am all the more fortunate to have touched my head with my head, the blessed dust of your lotus feet, of your feet. So once again, as I was mentioning earlier on, the two great personalities, both Swayambhuva Manu and also Kadamba Muni, not ordinary personalities, of course, expansions of the Supreme Lord, in a way that we can understand that Swayambhuva Manu is actually following the instructions of his spiritual master as well. His father, being Lord Brahma has been instructed by Krishna himself and wants to create progeny in such a way that he's very much interested in having his daughter married to Kadama Muni, having understood that Kadama Muni is also very eligible to get married, and he wants to sort of carry on the progeny of spiritual lineage as well. But the personalities, like for instance, Swambhava Manu is not an ordinary person, as I mentioned, because although he's following the rules of Dharma, is also considered to be a very saintly king. And nowadays, in this particular world, we don't have any personalities who can be trustworthy, actually doing something for the benefit of the nation, doing something for the benefit of human mankind. There's so much difficulties that's going on. There's always constantly violence against one nation to another nation, one president suing another country because of diffamy. So many difficulties, so much complications. And that is because we have forgotten the actual reasons why we have come to lead our society. We don't lead our society in a way which is governed by the principles of religious dharma. And certainly there will always be corruption, there will be crime, there will be vengeful activities, there will be terrorism, there will be quarrel amongst each other. This is the age of hypocrisy, the age of Kali. And once we actually follow the instructions, especially, for instance, the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, these are considered the law books of mankind for the next 10,000 years. And a lot of the stories within the Srimad Bhagavatam actually give you indications how certain judgments are made, not only to great personalities like Lord Brahma and Lord Indra, but also to humanity itself. How the Kauravas were destroyed by the Pandavas because of their corruptions that they committed and the crimes they committed against the Pandavas. Krishna establishing Dharma, Yada Yada Dharmasya. For what reason? To deliver the pious, to annihilate the miscreants, and to establish the principles of religion. And if the leaders of our society don't establish the society in a way which is in accordance to the principles of Sanatana Dharma, then certainly there will always be difficulty. And there's a karmic reaction, not only for the leaders, but also for all the citizens, which I mentioned last week to you, how even a great personality like Lord Indra, when he committed a certain crime that was unbearable for him to take on that karma, part of that karma was passed on to humanity for them to suffer as well. So here, now, in this particular verse, it mentions a lot about the importance about the great soul, Mahat. Mahatma is a very important person, somebody who is a spiritual leader, a spiritual authority. But something which is very intriguing is, unless one is fortunate, just highlight this line, unless one is fortunate enough to have the dust of the lotus feet of the Mahatma on one's head, there is no possibility of perfection in life. Now, just for time, because the next verse is also quite long, I'm going to concentrate my discussion on this particular purport for today. Now, does anybody know why the lotus or the feet of a spiritual master is called lotus? Why do we refer to the spiritual master's lotus feet as a lotus? Any thoughts, anybody?
Hare Krishna.
Palika Mataji, yes?
Krishna. What I understand is lotus, the lotus leaf, it's not touched, though it is in the water, but it does not touch it doesn't get affected with water because of its qualities. So similarly, if we take shelter at the lotus feet of our spiritual master because very pure, so we are also will be following that kind of a properties or that quality. So because of the association of the lotus feet of the spiritual master, we also can develop the quality of a lotus feet. I mean the lotus flower, lotus.
Yes.
Yes, lotus leaf.
Thank you so much, Malika. Anybody else? Any other thoughts why the feet of the spiritual master or even Krishna's feet is referred to a lotus? Okay, you're feeling very shy. Indira Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, my thoughts are, is he the representative of super personality of Godhead?
Yes, in the form of Padma, the lotus flower of the spiritual us, Lord Vishnu. And the lotus
Yes.
flower represents purity, auspiciousness, peacefulness, truthfulness. So yes, both of you are right, Balika Mataji and Indra Mataji. So thank you so much. So the lotus is actually considered to be a form of purity, a form of detachment as well. So the flower, as Balika Mataji mentioned, it grows in a place where the water is considered to be very muddy. But the lotus flower is raised away from that muddy water. So it shows you that level of purity, that it's not contaminated by the dirty contaminations of that water. So the spiritual master, by pure nature, he's not contaminated by anything which is of material desires, anything that which has impurities. He is above all these conditions. Now, the spiritual master, we have to understand, has to be a very bona fide spiritual master, not just an ordinary person who claims to be somebody who has some revelations of God or wants to have disciples so he can become famous, or somebody who wants to get a bit of prestige, especially now with social media, everybody wants to become famous in some way or another. But I'll go into the purpose and the qualities of a spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master in a minute. So the spiritual master is considered to be free from illusion, free from material attachments, and his objective is to bring everyone to the lotus feet of Krishna, just like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he saw Srila Prabhupada as a Baicharan, there was no direct connection at that time when they first meeting, but he gave instructions to a Baicharan to, you are a young educated man, why don't you preach this cult of Krishna consciousness to the West? So his idea is that he doesn't want anything for himself. He wants to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, the other bit mentioning is like Indra Mataji mentioned, the lotus is considered to be one of the symbols of Lord Vishnu, the Padma. And also you see a lot of pictures of Lakshmi Devi sitting on or standing on a lotus flower, because the lotus flower also represents purity, prosperity, wealth, happiness. And when you see that Lakshmi Devi is sitting on the lotus flower, it's also showing that potency that removes any difficulties from our life. Now, also the other consideration is that the lotus feet is also called Padma Madhu, or the nectar of honey. So although you may see the lotus feet or the feet of a spiritual master is considered to be the lowest part of a body, just like when we see the 4 parts of the body, the head is represented by the Brahmanas, the chest by the Kshatriyas, the waist by the Vaishyas, the feet by the Sudras. But at the same time, when you think of the feet, it's considered to be very dirty. Nobody wants to touch anybody's feet. Nobody wants to even wash anybody's feet. But by putting your highest form of your body, the head, down to the lowest form of a body, the feet, actually shows a sign of humility, shows a sign of surrender, shows a sign of, my dear Lord, I am actually yours. Please let me serve you in whatever way you can, and allow me to follow your instructions. So touching the lotus feet of the spiritual master, it is not impure by any means. Any part of the Supreme Lord, whether it's the feet, the hands, the head, it's all pure. But because of our limited conception, our senses, when we see something which is not very pure, unclean, unhygienic, we tend to sort of dismiss it in a way. But having that humility, that is namrata, humility is also considered a form of surrendering your head by touching the lotus feet of your spiritual master. Of course, you have to also be careful by touching the feet of a sadhu, also takes certain karma of us and passes on to the spiritual master. That's why you see many times spiritual authorities, after initiation of taking on many disciples, they become very ill, they become very weak. And that's something because they've actually taken on board, by the mercy of their own spiritual master, or giving shelter to their disciples. So each person has a different sort of karmic reaction depending on their own personality, their own nature, their own sort of level of surrender as well. So when that surrender goes to the spiritual master, he unfortunately takes that karma. And you can see Srila Prabhupada suffered greatly and later on in his life, because although he was weak and frail by nature because of his old age and health, but at the same time, there was a level of karmic token that he took on board, because he initiated many disciples at a young age, gave them a lot of responsibility, helped push the movement to every corner of the globe to propagate the holy name in every town and village, establish hundreds of temples, schools, farm communities, gurukuls, goshalas, etc. Okay, so from that purple, once again, if I ask a question, it mentions, Vishwanath Chakravarti mentions 8 stanzas of prayer to the spiritual master. It is clearly stated that simply by satisfying the spiritual master, one can achieve the supreme success in life. And in spite of executing all ritualistic performances, one cannot satisfy the spiritual master. One has no access to spiritual perfection. Does anybody know which verse Srila Prabhupada is referring to from this particular song Chakravarti Thakur is mentioning? We sing this song every morning for Mangalarti.
Jasya Prasada, Bhagavat Prasada, Jasya Prasada.
Thank you. Do you want to read this verse and the translation, Palika Mataji?
Okay, thank you. Is the number 8, yeah?
Yes. Can you see that?
Yes. Yasya Prasada, Bhagavat Prasada, Yasya Prasada, Nagati Kutahopi, Dhyam Subhasham, sorry, Dhyam Subhamstasa, Yashashiti Saddam, Bande Guru Sri Charanarvindam.
Okay. Now, if you could just read the translation to number 8.
By the mercy of spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master at least 3 times a day. I should offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Palika Mataji. So this is such an important verse. By receiving the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. So when you surrender to a spiritual master, once you take that initiation, many of you are initiated as well. You probably find that during that time, intermediate stage, when you come into Krishna consciousness and to the first stage of taking that initiation, accepting a spiritual master, the spiritual master has also accepted you. There is a spiritual energy that you all feel. I'm sure you've all felt that in some way or another. Perhaps if anybody wants to share that sort of realizations, I'd be glad to listen to them. But I do know, even in my own personal life, even though 2 of my spiritual masters had fallen down before I took initiation of them, it took me a little while before I accepted a spiritual master, His Holiness Bhakti Swami, and someone other, he accepted me as well. And when I got initiated, I just felt this spiritual energy. And also, it is important, you as an independent person, to serve in the spiritual master, to continue following the instructions, the rules and regulations as governed by the spiritual master. And this is given by Srila Prabhupada by following the 4 regulated principles: no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. It's important that you follow your chanting, the 16 rounds every day, because if you start dropping your level of standard of serving the spiritual master, you drop your servitude towards your own Krishna consciousness, your own sadhana, then of course that benediction of Krishna doesn't come. Many of you may ask in your life, well, how do I know I'm actually advancing? How do I know I don't feel connected? I don't feel any spiritual reflections. How is it that others are advancing so much more quicker than me? Of course, everything is dependent on the mercy of the spiritual master and the level of that you surrender unto your spiritual master too. Are you just surrendering to your spiritual master just for name, fame, glory, fashion, because everybody else is becoming a disciple, because a particular spiritual master is more popular than another spiritual master? The duty of a spiritual master is to also bring you back to Krishna, closer back to Krishna, closer back to serving the Supreme Lord, serving his own spiritual master. And His Holiness Bhakti Swami mentioned in our own disciple meeting several times don't try and think of me as your spiritual master. That's Srila Bhakti Swami telling his disciples and well-wishers, don't think of me as your spiritual master. I may have given you a Diksha Guru, but think of others as your Shiksha Guru. So sometimes the importance of the Shiksha Guru is very important over the Diksha Guru. The Diksha Guru gives you that connection, the initiation into the Sampradaya. As you know, there's 4 Sampradayas, Brahma Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, Lakshmi Sampradaya, and Kumara Sampradaya. Within Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON, we follow the Brahma, Madhavya, Gaudiya Sampradaya devotees of, or servants of Srimati Radharani, which is actually a form of bhakti or prema, serving Srimati Radharani and Krishna in the form of devotional service. But when we surrender to Krishna through the Sampradaya, then our connection becomes important. So as I mentioned, His Holiness Bhakti Swami was saying that also think of your Shiksha Guru as your spiritual master, think of your GBC as your spiritual master, think of your temple president, your temple manager, your Sankirtan leader, your Bhakti leader, your mentor. Don't just think of myself as your spiritual master. All these personalities have a role in your spiritual journey. So sometimes on a confidential level, some devotees say, well, I can't relate to this spiritual master, I can't relate to this. Of course, everybody has a certain preference. Somebody likes spiritual masters who can sing nicely. Some devotees like spiritual masters who are very much into book distribution. Some like spiritual masters who are very much into data worship. The important thing is seeing how is your spiritual master serving their own spiritual master, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. How are they trying to encourage you and entice you in your spiritual journey, or others as well? It is a personal sort of reflection and personal realization, and it's not to be just taken very lightheartedly. But it's so important that you actually respect every spiritual master. And I've actually witnessed myself when I had the good fortune of having exclusive dinner prasadam with His Holiness Bhakti Swami, myself, and a senior godbrother, Yadabar Prabhu, his godbrother of Srila Prabhupada, godbrother of Bhakti Swami. And when they were serving prasadam, they served Guru Maharaj first, and they didn't serve Yadabar Prabhu. And Guru Maharaj got very, very angry. He said, what are you doing to this disciple who's quite a new devotee, or sort of a new sort of a disciple? Why are you serving me and not to my godbrothers? You should consider my godbrothers to be just as dear to me, to you, as Srila Prabhupada is dear to everyone else. So in other words, he wanted all his godbrothers and godsisters to be treated like the way we treated our own spiritual master. And it was a very important lesson for me, because when we see many, many spiritual authorities come to the temple, we become very discriminative in a certain way. To a certain level, we have to discriminate. So we want to be with devotees who are self-realized, who are very, very pious in their spiritual journey, who are very, very positive, very confident, very spiritually encouraging and motivating us. Whereas certain individuals may always be a bit more relaxed, a bit more complaining about the management, the authorities, festivals, prasadam. It's better to be with devotees who are uplift you in your own journey. Once again, His Holiness Bhakti Swami was mentioning, why waste your time and energy on those who do not encourage you in your spiritual journey? Rather associate with devotees who is encouraging you, enlivening you, enlightening you in your spiritual journey. So it's very important that we actually understand that the importance of the spiritual master, we get the benediction of Krishna by serving them. So there's another particular verse about the lotus feet of the spiritual master. We recite this every day, every morning. It's another prayer, Shri Guru Charana Padma. Does anybody know that particular verse at all? And the translation? We recite the Sanskrit and the English every day. Or is it Bengali?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Is it
Yes, Mataji.
Shri Guru Charana Rati? Aise Uttam Gati?
Yes, Shri Guru Charana Padma. Mataji, would you like to read this? Could you see this? Okay. Verse number 1.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhagati Sadma Bando Mui Savadan Mate Jahare Prasade Vai एवं तोरिया जाय कृष्ण प्राप्ति होए जहाँ होइते.
Thank you. And if you read the translation for verse 1.
The lotus, the lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy. I can't read that one.
Okay. By the mercy
of Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you so much. What was your name, Mataji?
Kanta.
Kanta Ben, thank you so much. So this is the beautiful verse that we read every day. And my sort of advice to everybody is try and recite these two prayers that we mentioned earlier on to you. Like when you wake up in the morning, the idea is that you get dressed, change while you're doing the morning preparations for your breakfast, for your family, getting ready to go to work or doing arti. Try and memorize those verses, Samsaradava, Nalalita Loka, and Shiguru Charana Padma. Actually, you find so much spiritual upliftment by praying to the spiritual master, because your day actually becomes very fruitful, very positive, very spiritual, very enlightening, because you're always thinking of your spiritual master. The spiritual master, by his mercy, can also give you a certain benediction. Of course, we don't want any benedictions, we don't want anything but to serve our spiritual master, just like Prahlad Maharaj, when he's asked by Lord Nrsimhadev, he asked him several times, again and again and again, please ask any benediction you want. But Prahlad Maharaj is so humble, it's just a 4-year-old boy. He could have wanted anything. Just like Dhruva Maharaj wanted wanted a kingdom bigger than his own father. But when he saw Lord Vishnu face to face, he realized there's absolutely nothing that he wants more than remembering the Supreme Lord in his heart again and again. But still, Prahlad Maharaj said, okay, if you insist, Lord Nrsimhadev, allow my father Hiranyakashipu, although he was demonic by nature, please give him some sort of liberation as well. But of course, Lord Nrsimhadev is so merciful. He said 14 generations before and after will all become liberated. And by serving our spiritual master, we also become liberated. He could give you the benediction, but that benediction we want, please allow us to engage ourselves more and more into our devotional service. Earlier on, when we were reading that particular verse, it mentions about how a common man cannot rise to the topmost stage of spiritual perfection simply by following the rituals and religious principles. Has to take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and work under his directions faithfully and sincerely, and then he becomes perfect without a doubt. Previously, on another verse, we mentioned about every devotee goes through a journey. There's 9 stages of Bhakti Yoga, starting off with Shraddha, which is faith, then Sadhu Sangha, then 3 Bhajana Kriya, then 4 Anata Nivritti, then 5 Nishtha, then 6 Ruchi, then 7 Akshakti, 8 Bhava, which is love for the Supreme Lord, and then ultimately Prema, pure love. This is the feeling that the gopis have for the Supreme Lord. It's unconditional, not tainted with any speck of any personal benefit for themselves. There's no sort of personal desires that they want except for to serve the Supreme Lord in a way that they could come closer and closer to the Supreme Lord. And that is what we want to do. We may be still at that Shraddha stage. Some of you, like myself, maybe not even at that Shraddha stage. We're still progressing. But by surrendering yourself to a spiritual master, surrendering to an authority, devotees, then we also become very spiritually minded. Just for time, I'm just going to stop sharing this, and I just want somebody to read this for me. I'm just going to share it. Just one moment. I'm not sure. Can you see this at all?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Okay, sure. Let me just see who spoke. Sorry, somebody. Is that Namrata Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Namrata Mataji, would you like to read this? Basically, this is showing the importance of the story of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanting to serve his spiritual master, Ishvara Puri, and his reasoning to take shelter of the lotus feet of his spiritual master, Ishwarapuri. So this is from the book Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. It's Adikanda. And this is chapter 17, the Lord traveled to Gaya. So you can read from here until I tell you to stop, yeah? Namrata Mataji.
Prabhuji. Okay, Prabhuji. This chapter describes Sri Gaurasundara's visit to Gaya via Mandara and Punpun, his meeting with Ishwarapuri at Gaya, his bestowing mercy on Ishwarapuri on the pretext of accepting initiation, his manifestation of himself, his attempts to go to Mathura while being maddened in separation from Krishna, his return home to Navdeep Mayapur after hearing a voice from the sky on the way, and the conclusion of the Adi Khanda. During the time when Sri Gaurasundara was enjoying his pastime in Navdeepa at the crest jewel of teachers, the philosophies of the atheists and the smartas were being quickly propagated. Even hearing the name of Bhakti Yoga was rare. The sinful people went on unnecessarily criticizing the Vaishnavas. Considering that the proper time had arrived to manifest himself, Sri Gaurasundara enacted the pastime of going to Gaya for performing worldly fruitive rituals in order to refute the atheistic and smarta philosophies, as well as to bewilder averse persons. In order to bewilder the atheist, the Lord displayed the pastime of being attacked with fever on his way to Gaya. Therefore, to exhibit his affection towards his servants and the potency of water that has washed the feet of qualified brahmanas, he drank water that had washed the feet of a brahmana and ended his pastime of having fever. On reaching Punpun, the Lord performed his pastime of worshipping the forefathers and then entered Gaya. He took bath at Brahmakunda, and after displaying the pastimes of duly respecting his father at that place, he came to thank you, Prabhuji. He came to Chakraveda and manifested his pastime of seeing the lotus feet of Gandharva or Lord Vishnu. Gadadhara or Lord Vishnu. After hearing the glories of the lotus feet of Gadadhara from the resident Brahmanas, the Lord became decorated with pure ecstatic transformations and thus inaugurated his pastimes of manifesting loving devotional service. By providence, the Lord met Ishwarapuri there. Sri Mahaprabhu revealed to Sri Ishwarapuri that the perfection of visiting Gaya is to meet pure devotees like Ishwarapuri, that seeing Vaishnavas is matchlessly greater than worshipping and offering oblations to the forefathers at Gaya, and that his purpose of travelling to Gaya was to permanently surrender at the lotus feet of Mahabhagavata, spiritual master, without disturbing the foolish, ill-motivated, fruitive workers who are bewildered by the three modes of material nature, to teach them that until one receives initiation into Krishna mantras from a bona fide spiritual master, he is eligible only for performing fruitive activities, and to simultaneously bewilder the atheist. Sri Gaurasundara exhibited the pastimes of offering various oblations to the forefathers at Gaya according to worldly customs.
Thank you so much, Namrata Mataji. Would anyone like to give an idea about the importance of this particular topic, about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understanding his role in accepting a spiritual master, Ishwarapuri, and why it's so relevant to us? Hope you don't mind me asking you this question. It's just so you could also understand, yes?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I think he took his father's ashes to Gaya.
Yes, but the main question I wanted to ask you, Mataji, was why did Lord Gaurasundara, who is the creator of this whole material and spiritual universe, take on the role as a disciple and accepted Ishwarapuri as a spiritual teacher? Why do you think he did that?
Humility. He was so humble to show us
Yes.
that we should do that.
Yeah.
Accept
Carry on.
spiritual master.
Yes. Carry on.
You can explain probably next.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you. It's not sort of trying to put anybody in a spot. Of course not. It's also making us feel within our heart, how is it possible Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came down with pure love of Godhead, distributed love of Godhead to everyone, but yet he felt so surrendered. He wanted to take the water, washing the lotus feet of the Brahmanas and drinking that water, this fever went away. How is it possible? Most of us would, when we do go to Vrindavan, I know myself, when I see the water, I've had this issue where I've drunk a few drops of water in myself and I ended up with dysentery. I became very ill and I have to be careful now. I just put water on my head. But here, Gaurasundara is actually drinking the water, which has washed the lotus feet of the Brahmanas, and his fever sustained. He's accepted Ishwara Puri as his spiritual master because of what it is. The teacher comes, the spiritual authority comes to give an example. Just like in the Bhagavad Gita, there's a verse, whatever great action a man performs, common man will follow. Whatever standards he sets, by example reacts, the rest of the world pursues. So here Srila Prabhupada is explaining, not Srila Prabhupada, Srila Vrindavan Thakur is explaining about the importance of how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted Ishwara Puri, even though he's from a different sampradaya. From what I understand, he was from personal sampradaya, but yet he accepted him as a spiritual authority. The reason why, so that the Mayavad philosophy can be broken down and re-established by the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it shows you that we also have that responsibility. If we are very, very sincere in our spiritual journey, if we're really sincere in surrendering and accepting Krishna as a spiritual authority, then we too certainly have to accept a spiritual authority as well. Just quickly check. I'm just going to read the translation for the next two verses. This is verse 7. Tistya tvaya nishtoham kritas chanugraho mahan pavrite kanatrandire jushta tishcho satikiraha. Translation. I have fortunately been instructed by you, and thus great favor has been bestowed upon me. Thank God that I've listened with open ears to your pure words. So the purport by Srila Prabhupada is quite an extensive purport. If you do get time to read it, but basically a lot of it is explaining the importance of the spiritual master. He's not an ordinary person because his duty is to serve everyone in bringing them to Krishna consciousness. And then it goes on a bit further on, explaining about how we have to take that responsibility, as I mentioned in the previous topic, in the previous verse, how important it is for us to also come to that level of Krishna consciousness by surrendering to a spiritual authority. And then I was going to talk a bit more about Srila Prabhupada, his role, accepted as spiritual master, but because of time, I'll have to skip that. Now, the final verse, verse 8, Sabhava Dviti Sneha Praklil Pariklishtadpano Mama Shota Mahasi Dinasya Shavitan Kripaya Mune. Translation, O great sage, graciously be pleased to listen to the prayer of my humble self, for my mind is troubled by affection for my daughter. So here the purport by Srila Prabhupada recites as, when the disciple is perfectly in consonance with the spiritual master, having received his message and executed it perfectly and sincerely, he has a right to ask a particular favor from the spiritual master. Generally, a pure devotee of the Lord or a pure disciple of the bona fide spiritual master does not ask any favor from the Lord or the spiritual master. But even if there is a need to ask for a favor from the spiritual master, one cannot ask that favor without satisfying him fully. Swambhava Manu wanted to disclose his mind regarding the function he wanted to execute due to affection for his daughter. So I'll just conclude there. So I mentioned this earlier on, that when we actually surrender to a spiritual master, the idea is that we're serving the spiritual master wholeheartedly without expecting anything in return. Just like we recite the verse, Trinada Pisanechena, Although we try to be humble like a blade of grass, tall like a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, ready to offer all respects to others, devoid of all false prestige, so we do not want to ask anything for in return. Of course, we're human beings, we have a certain level of spiritual inclination. Some need a bit more sort of support than others. Everybody gets affected in a different way, emotionally, personally. You know, we all have life duties to take care of, our family, our work, financial, health, so many considerations. Some are put in more difficult situations because they're going to take care of some loved ones who may not be in a situation where they're very healthy. Some may not be healthy themselves, and it actually affects our own spiritual consciousness, ability not to do so many things. But still, we have to keep praying to the Supreme Lord, Spiritual Master. I surrender to you by the grace of the Spiritual Master. One receives the benediction of the Supreme Lord. Without the mercy of the Supreme Lord, one cannot make any spiritual advancement. I'll stop there if there's any questions or comments. But in the meantime, forgive me for any mistakes, and if there's anything anybody wishes to add as well, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Okay, I was just going to quickly recite this when we were talking about the spiritual authorities, how the disciplic section is passed on. This is from Bhagavad Gita chapter 4.1, Transcendental Knowledge. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Imam Vish Vivashvate Yoga Praktava Mahamavyayam Vivashvamanave Praha Manukshvake Pravit. Translation: The personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivashvan, and Vivashvan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind. This is the Manu that we were referring to, Swambhuva Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. And the other important verse, I think it's in, Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, verse 34. Just try to approach a bona fide spiritual master. Just try to please and approach a bona fide spiritual master, inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul and impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. And that was the objective of surrendering unto the lotus feet of the spiritual master. Thank you, everyone. I'll pass on to Namrata Mataji now. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, beautifully explained. My humble obeisance to you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhuji, for today's bhajan, we have our lovely Mamta Mataji who will be singing the Gopi Geet. But before she sings the song, we have dear Devika who will be doing the English translation. So let me know when you can see my screen. Okay. Mamta Mataji, can you check if I have got the right Gopi Geet on the screen? Let me share again. Sorry. Right, okay. Where's it gone? Okay. Mamta Mataji, is this the right Gopi Geet?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Namrata Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, this is the one.
This is the right one. Okay, so we'll go to Devika first, Mataji, if that's okay, and then you can start as well in a minute. Okay, sorry. Okay, Devika, you can see the screen?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, Hare Krishna, when you're ready.
Hare Krishna. The Gopi translation. The Gopis said, O beloved, your birth in the land of Vraja has made it exceedingly glorious. And thus Indra, the good goddess of fortune, always resides here. It is only for your sake that we, your devoted servants, maintain our lives. We have been searching everywhere for you, so please show yourself to us. O Lord of love, in beauty your glance excels the world of the finest, most perfectly formed lotus with the autumn pond. O bestower of benedictions, you are killing the maidservants who have given themselves to you freely, without any price. Isn't this murder? O great of personalities, you have repeatedly saved us from all kinds of danger, from poisoned water, from the terrible man-eater, Aga, from the from great rains, from the wind demon, from the fairy thunderbolt of Indra, from the bull demon, and from the son of Maya Danva. You were not actually the son of the Gopi Yashoda, O friend, but rather the indwelling witness in the hearts of all embodied souls. Because Lord Brahma prayed for you to come and protect the universe, you have now appeared in the Satyavatya dynasty. O best of the Vrishnis, your lotus-like hand, which holds the hand of the goddess of fortune, grants fearlessness to those who approach your feet out of fear of material existence. O lover, please place that wish-fulfilling lotus hands on our heads. O you who destroy the suffering of Raja's people, O hero of all women, your smile shatters the false pride of your devotees. Please, dear friend, accept us as your maidservants and show us your beautiful lotus face. Your lotus feet destroy the past sins of all embodied souls who surrender to them. Those feet follow after the cows in the pastures and are the eternal abode of the goddess of fortune. Since you once put those feet on the hoods of the great serpent Kalia, please place them upon our breasts and tear away the lust in our hearts. O lotus-eyed one, your sweet voice and charming words, which attract the minds of the intelligent, are bewildering us more and more. Our dear hero, please revive your maidservants with the nectar of your lips. The nectar of your words and descriptions of your activities are the life and soul of those suffering in this material world. These narrations transmitted by the learned sages aidrecate one's sinful reactions and bestow good fortune upon whoever hears them. These narrations are broadcast all over the world and are filled with spiritual power. Certainly, those who spread the message of Godhead are most magnificent. Your smiles, your sweet, loving glances, the intimate pastimes and confidential talks we enjoyed with you, all these are auspicious to meditate upon, and they touch our hearts. But at the same time, O dissever, they very much agitate our minds. Dear master, dear lover, when you leave the cowhead village to herd the cows, our minds are disturbed with the thought that your feet are more beautiful than a lotus. We'll be pricked by the spiked husks of grain and rough grass grass and plants. At the end of your day, you repeatedly show us your lotus face, covered with the dark blue locks of hair and thickly powdered with dust. Thus, O hero, you arouse lusty desires in our minds. Your lotus feet, which are worshipped by Lord Brahma, fulfill the desires of all who bow down to them. They are the ornament of earth. They give They give the highest satisfaction, and in times of danger, they are the appropriate object of meditation. O lover, O destroyer of anxiety, please put those lotus feet upon our breasts. O hero, kindly distribute to us the nectar of your lips, which enhances conjugal pleasure and vanquishes grief. That nectar is thoroughly relished by your vibrating flute and makes people forget any other attachment. When you go off to the forest during the day, a tiny fraction of a second becomes like a millennium for us because we cannot see you. And even when we can eagerly look upon your beautiful face, so lovely with its ornament of curly locks, our pleasure is hindered by our eyelids, which are fashioned by the foolish Creator. Dear Achyuta, you know very well why we have come here. Who but a cheater like you would abandon a young woman who comes to see him in the middle of the night, enchanted by the loud song of his flute. Just to see you, we have completely rejected our husbands, children, ancestors, brothers, and other relatives. Our minds are repeatedly bewildered as we think of the intimate conversations we had with you in secret. Feel the rise of lust in our hearts and remember your smiling face, your loving glances, and your broad chest, the resting place of the goodness of fortune. Thus we experience the most severe hankering for you. O beloved, your all suspicious appearance vanquishes the distress of those living in the Rajah's forest. Our minds long for your association. Please give to us just a bit of that medicine which counteracts the disease in your devotees' hearts. O dearly beloved, your lotus feet are so soft that we place them gently in our breasts, fearing that your feet will be hurt. Our life rests only into you. Our minds, therefore, are filled with anxiety that your tender feet might be wounded by pebbles as you roam about on the forest path. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, very nicely read. Beautifully
Beautiful.
done. So Hare Krishna Prabhuji, sorry the song is a bit long, but please bear with me. I'll try to sing it as quickly as possible. Gopyochahu Jayati Tedhikam Janmana Vrajaha Shrayate Vira Shashwatatrahi Daitatrishyata Dikshutavaga Tvai Drita Sava Swam Vichinvate Sharadudashaye Sadhu Jatasa Sarasi Jodara Shri Mushadrisha Suratanathate Shukadasika Varadhane Knato Nehakim Vadha Vishajalabhyaya Vyalarакshasa Vashamaruta Vaidyutanala Vrishamayatmaja Vishwatu Bhaya Drishabhate Vayam Rakshitamuhu Nakhalu Gopika Nandano Bhavan Akhila Dehina Mantaramada Vikhanasarthito Vishwaguptaye Sakhaudeva Satvatam Kule Virachita Bhayam Vrishnidhuryate Charanamiyusham Samsriterbhaya Karasaroram Patakam शिरसि देहिनं श्रीकरग्रहम् व्रजजनार्तिहन् वीरयोषिता निजजनस्मया त्वं सनस्मिता भज सखे भव किङ्करी स्मनो जलरुहाननम् चारुदर्शया प्रणतदेहिना पापकर्षणम् ऋणचरानुगम् श्रीनिकेतनम् फणिफणार्पितम् ते पदाम्बुजम् ऋणुकुचेषुना कृन्दिहृच्छयम् मधुरया गिरा वर्गुवाक्यया बुधमनुष्यया पुष्करे क्षणा विधिकरीरिमा वीरमुयति अधरिसीदुना याययस्वनः तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनम् कविभिरीडितम् कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततम् भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः प्रहसितं प्रिया प्रेमवीक्षणम् विहरणं च ते ध्यानमङ्गलम् रहसि संविदो या हृदि स्पृशः कुहकनो मनः शोभयन्ति चलसि यद्व्रजा चारयन् पशु नलिनसुन्दरम् नाथ ते पदम् शीलतृणाङ्कुरैः सीदति दिनः कलिलताम्बनः कान्त गच्छति दीन दीनपरीक्षये दिनपरीक्षये नीलकुन्तले वनरुहाननम् बिभ्रदावितम् धनरजस्वलम् दर्शयन् मुहुर् मनसि न स्मरम् वीरयच्छसि प्रणतकामदम् पद्मजार्चितम् धरणिमण्डनम् ध्येयमापदि चरणपङ्कजम् शन्तमं च ते रमणनस्तनेष्वर्पयाधिहन् सुरतवर्धनम् शोकनाशनम् स्वरितवेणुना सुष्ठुचुम्बितम् इतररागवे मारणं नृणा वितरवीरन ते धरामृतम् अटति यद्भवान् नह्हि काननम् त्रुटियुगायते त्वामपश्यता कुटिलकुन्तलम् श्रीमुखं च ते जड उदीक्षता पक्ष्मकृत्तृषाम् पतिसुतान्वया भ्रातृबान्धवान् अतिविलम्भ्यते त्यच्युतागतः गतिविदस्त्वदो गतिविदस्वदो गीतमोहितः कितवयोषितः कस्त्यजेनिषि रहसि संविदम् इच्छयोदयम् प्रहसिताननम् प्रेमवीक्षणम् बृहदुराश्रियो वीक्ष्य धामते मुहुरति स्पृहा मुह्यते मनः व्रजवनौकसा व्यक्तिरङ्गते वृजनिहन्त्र्यलम् विश्वमङ्गलम् त्यजमनाब्जन स्वस्पृहात्मना स्वजनरतृजाम् यन्निषूदनम् यत्ते सुजात चरणाम्बुरुहं स्तनेषु भीताशनै प्रिय दधीमहि कर्कशेषु तेनाटवीमटसि तत् व्यथते न किं स्वे भूर्पादिभिर्भ्रमति धीर्भव दायुषां नः हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Jai Shri Krishna. Please forgive me for my mistakes. Thank you so much.
Thank
Haribol Mataji.
Thank
Beautiful
you
singing,
so
Mataji.
much. Yes, beautiful. Beautifully sang, Mamata Mataji. Thank
Sorry
you.
for the mistake.
Beautiful. All glories to your service. Wonderful.
Oh, Mataji, thank you so much, Mataji, for listening to the song. I know it's a bit long, a little bit of mistakes. Please forgive me. But it was lovely singing. I think it's such a lovely song. You have to sing it with emotion, but I wasn't sure. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you all for listening.
Very
Oh,
beautiful.
thank you. Very beautifully sung with lots of love and devotion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for joining in today. Just a quick mention, if anybody's willing to serve Srila Prabhupada by distributing books on Sunday, 23rd of November, I've just posted it on the chat group. Between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m., there's going to be like a Sankirtan sort of introduction, a little drama, and small yagya